The noble realm has been destroyed, the magic knights are on their last legs, and Yuno is facing down 12 clones of a man he had to put his all into beating the first time. And all of this is happening before the real Lucius even gets up from his throne, and once he finally makes his move, there might not be anything our heroes can do to stop him. But there is a light at the end of this tunnel, because once Asta makes his grand return, things will almost definitely begin to swing in the Magic Knight's favor. But that all depends on him making his way from the Land of Sun in time in order to save the day, which he currently does not have a way of doing. But lucky enough for him, his friends in the Black Bulls might have found a way to bring him back to the Clover Kingdom by combining the powers of the three most powerful witches in the world, Vanessa, the Witch Queen, and our very own captain of the Coral Peacocks, Dorothy. Okay, so ignoring the big Dorothy reveal in this chapter, we'll get to that in a moment, it was so great seeing the Witch Queen again after so long, because while she was essentially the main antagonist of the Witch's Forest arc, I've always enjoyed her as a character, and I've been hoping for pretty much every big arc since then that she come back into the story at some point and play a part in helping take down the big bad and saving the day. And even if it wasn't for a big arc, I just really wanted to see the character come back and interact with Vanessa, because the way the arc ended with her growing as a character and trying to mend the relationship between the two of them by giving Vanessa the freedom she always wanted made me want to see more of their dynamic. And I swear it's not just because I have a soft spot for bad parents trying to go through a redemption arc, but because by at least training with the Witch Queen, we could have seen Vanessa gradually unlock more and more potential from her thread magic and rogue and learn brand new spells that she could have used throughout the series, instead of just spamming the red thread of fate throughout the entire thing over and over again until she ends up running out of mana. I mean, don't get me wrong, it works in the short term, but it's not viable for long drawn out battles. And since Vanessa was essentially locked away for a majority of her childhood, she most likely doesn't know all too much about witch society and their customs. So we could have learned with her as the Witch Queen explains to her more about their culture, doing a little bit of world building. But getting back to chapter 361, it made perfect sense for Vanessa to go to the Witch Queen first for help in trying to find Asta, because outside of their normal magic, witches are able to also use deviation to look into the future and tell the location of people and things that they want to find. Something Vanessa could have learned how to do as she did some training with the Witch Queen. And she confirms to the Black Bulls that Asta is indeed alive, but he's in a land too far away for her to summon, perhaps confirming that witches, or at the very least the Witch Queen, has some form of spatial magic abilities as well. Again, something Vanessa probably could have learned if she had trained with her. But even if she did, if not even the Witch Queen is strong enough to summon Asta, then all hope seems lost on bringing him home in time to stop Lucius. Then enters Dorothy to tell them there actually is a way to bring him back, and officially confirming that she is in fact a witch from the Witch's Force. And I mean, I think we all kind of figured she might be one for a while now, because her design just kind of screams witch even at a first glance, but getting the official confirmation in this chapter was a cool reveal, and it also helps explain a major part of Dorothy's character. Because now it makes perfect sense how Dorothy is able to move around and perceive her surroundings even while asleep, because she is so powerful as a witch that she's able to use deviation even when unconscious. And it's most likely because she was so skilled at using deviation that she already knew Asta's future couldn't be read, which is why she's here now instead of preparing for Judgment Day. Which, by the way, and I didn't notice this until I read the chapter and saw Dorothy show up in it, but if you actually go back to chapter 354, the start of Judgment Day, when we see everyone lined up and waiting for Lucius and his army, we get to see all the captains ready and waiting, except for Dorothy. She's the only captain that wasn't there, and it didn't clock with me that she wasn't there until after I got done reading this chapter. And now it makes perfect sense why she's not there, because she's currently here in the Witch's Forest, although I did forget to mention this in the beginning of this video, but everything we see currently going on with the Black Bulls in this chapter is happening in the past. We know this because Tabata did that thing with the weird face from black transition he normally does when he's showing a flashback. Although it is worth mentioning that we don't know exactly how far in the past this has taken place. It could be a few days, a few hours, even just a few minutes before the start of Judgment Day. We don't know, and we most likely won't know until Asta and the rest of them show up on the battlefield. Which won't be much longer, because as we see at the very end of the chapter, they are primed and ready to bring Asta back by using a compound spell that combines the magical power of all the witches in the force, and with Enrawl at its heart, it will seemingly open up a portal to let Asta and potentially even a few members of the Region 7 travel from the Land of the Sun to the Witch's Force. Or at the very least, it should allow them to see where Asta is, which should let Finral use his magic to travel there if provided with enough mana, and once there, they could use whatever means Charmy used to get from there to the Clover Kingdom in the past to get home. And actually, now that I think about it, that method actually makes much more sense for them to do, because then we have a way for the Region 7 members to go back to their home country once this is all over and done with, and they don't have to perform a whole ritual to do it. Last thing I want to point out, we see an anti-bird sitting on Charmy's head in this chapter, hinting at Nero being with them in their search to find Asta. But it's only for that one panel, and she's drawn very, very small, to the point where it's very easy to miss her if you don't know she's already there. In fact, I only was aware of her because of the fact that someone else on Twitter had already pointed her out. And while I do think that this is indeed Nero, the fact that Tabata didn't draw her in her human form and kept the bird form so well hidden that it's, like I said, easy to miss, does leave room for it just to be a bird and the real Nero to be somewhere else. Although, that being said, like someone mentioned on one of my previous videos, the Witch Queen being a master of unique and special magic might actually be the best person to teach Nero how to unlock her full potential, so her being there might actually be a pretty good thing. Anyway, if I time things right, this video should be coming out the same day as leaks for the chapter 362, so we'll just have to wait and see exactly what comes next in this Judgment Day arc.